when we want to change a percentage to a fraction, we can almost think of the percentage sign like a little 100 with a 1 and 2 zeros. Maybe that'll remind us that when we are getting a percentage, it's out of 100. A percent means out of 100. So when we write it as a fraction, 30% is 30 out of 100. 30 hundredths. And we should always then simplify that down if we can. So 30 out of 100, we can simplify down to 3/10. 87% then is 87 out of 100, or 87 over 100. And again, we try to simplify it down, but in this case, nothing goes into 87 and also into 100. It also works with decimals. With 13.5% is 13.5 out of 100. Now our only problem here is that we don't like the decimal in this. We don't like mixing fractions and decimals in the same thing. So what I have to do is change that. And we just find an equivalent fraction. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2 to get 27. Oops. Let's try it again. 27 over 200. And that's as simplified as that gets. And finally 2% is 2 out of 100. And again, we should, where possible, simplify that down. And both top and bottom, the numerator and the denominator, are divisible by 2. So that's 1/50. When it comes to changing percentages to decimals, again, we can think of the percent sign here as out of 100. Or if we think of a percentage as a fraction, as 30 over 100 or 30 divided by 100. And if we think of it in that format, dividing by 100, then 30% is 30 divided by 100. And that's just going to take our decimal point and move it once, twice. So 30 divided by 100 is 0.3 or 0.30. And I can get rid of the 0. 87%, when I divide that by 100, is 0.87. It's nice and easy to divide by 100. We move the decimal point 2 places. 13.5%, again, if I take the decimal point and move it twice, I get 0.135. And 2%, this is the one where we have to be a wee bit careful about, because when I divide by 100, I don't get 0.2, I get 0.02. So percentages to fractions, we write it over 100. Percentage to decimals, we divide by 100. Now when we went from percentages to decimals, we divided by 100. So when we go the other way around, we do the reverse. And this time we're going to multiply by 100. And again, that's nice and easy because we move the decimal point twice. So 0.18, when I multiply that by 100, is 18. So 0.18 represents 18%. 0.03 multiplied by 100 is 3. So that's 3%. 0.125, when I multiply by 100, it moves the decimal point 2 places. And that leaves me in this case with 12.5% or 12.5%. And finally 2.1. 2.1 when I multiply by 100 gives me 210%. And that's one sometimes people get confused about. They sometimes divide it by 100. They think we can't have more than 100%. We can have more than 100%. To change a decimal to a fraction, all I need to do is look at the units, or the tenths, the hundredths or thousandths column. So here the 8 is in the hundredths column. So this is 18 hundredths. And like all fractions, we should cancel it down if possible. So that's the same as 9 over 50. In this second one, again the 3 is in the hundredths column. So this is just 3 hundredths. And that doesn't cancel down anymore. We just leave it as it is. In our third one, the 5 is actually in the thousandths column. So that's 125 over 1000. 125 1,000ths. And again, we can simplify that down, and you might be able to do it in one go, but if not, we can divide top and bottom by 5 to get 25 over 200. And again, it divides by 5 to get 5 over 40. And again, it cancels down to 1 over 8, 1/8. 0.125 equal to 1/8 is a decimal and a fraction that we should be able to convert quite quickly. And finally, the last one, 2.1. Well, that's 2 and 1/10. And again, that's as simplified as it gets, unless we want to write it as a top-heavy fraction. But we can leave it like that. There are a number of different ways of turning fractions into percentages, like multiplying by 100. But one way that I like to do it is to make each fraction to have a denominator of 100 to make the bottom line 100. So for example, 1/20th here, if I make the denominator 100, I multiply top and bottom by 5. So that's 5 100ths. Now I know that a percentage is out of 100. So this is 5 out of 100, so it must be 5%. 3/4, again, if I want to make the denominator of that 100, I multiply the top and the bottom by 25. So that becomes 75 hundredths, or 75 out of 100. So that's 75%. Finally, this last one, 3/8, probably the hardest here. What do I multiply 8 by to get 100? Maybe that's not something that you're sure about immediately. But what I could do is make it out of 800 quite easily. Just multiplying everything by 100, top and bottom. And I'm going to then break this down a bit like we've done before with equivalent fractions and say, well, that's over 800. Instead of over 800, let's make it over 400. So that's 150 over 400, which is 75 over 200, which is 37.5 over 100. Now we don't normally like decimals and fractions mixing, but here we're just, this is an interim step, because I know that that's 37.5 out of 100, which we can write then as 37.5 or 37.5%. We can use this method to turn fractions into decimals as well. So if I've already worked out that 1/20th is 5%, well, turning a percentage into a decimal is dead easy. We just divide by 100. So it's 0.05. 3/4 I know is 75%. And again, turning into a percentage into a decimal, we divide by 100, 0.75. And finally, 3/8 we've worked out is 37.5%, which is 0.375. Another way we could do this is by long division. If we just show you this, I think if 3/8 is 3 divided by 8. So there's 3. I'm going to divide it by 8. Well, 8 doesn't go into 3. So I carry the 3 across. 8 goes into 30 3 times, with a remainder of 6. 8 goes into 60 7 times, with a remainder of 4. And 8 goes into 40 5 times. No remainder, so we've finished. And so we still get an answer of 0.375. Either way is good, but if you're confident finding percentages, then it's much easier to get the percentage and then the decimal. There are a lot of fractions and decimals and percentages that we see in everyday life and that we should be very familiar with. This is a list of some of them. Maybe it might be worth just pausing the video and having a look at them, making sure that you're familiar with them. Now here's some questions for you to have a go at. Just pause the video have a go at the questions, and then restart the video when you're finished to see what the answers are.